Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I thought I would bring you something a little bit different. I recently purchased these containers from Hobby Lobby for some of my bigger collections. They are a hard plastic and they have a nice thickness to them. I was able to label them with Avery labels and they look really nice on my shelves. In my Facebook group, someone had recently asked how I store my embellishments. I do have embellishment books where I keep all of my colored embellishments together and I add them to page protectors. And I will link that video here so that you can see all the details for those random embellishments. But for my collections, I also like to add them to page protectors. This is simply because they lay flat when I have them in the storages that I'm using. So whether it's the bag or these new containers. And it is also great to not have to sort through a ton of embellishments, especially the amount of embellishments that you get with Doodlebug. I hate sorting through them and then sometimes not finding all of the embellishments that go with the pieces, sometimes having to go through piles and piles of embellishments over and over again, depending on what I'm looking for. So the first thing that I do is I separate all of the embellishments into rough categories. So for this Hey Pumpkin collection, I'm separating the pumpkins over on the far left, the ghost up at the top. I know that there is a cemetery scene, and so I put that to the side as well. Then on the right hand side, there's a ton of candy. And then there's these bigger pieces like the transportation, so the truck and the hot air balloon and the car and things like that. And I put those in a pile. And then I also have a pile for spiders and bats and cats. So for Hey Pumpkin, you can purchase the bits and pieces, the odds and end, and the chit chats. And I tend to just go through one at a time. And the first one that I'm going through is the odds and ends, and it does have 176 pieces. Some of those are really tiny, like you can see those stars are really small. Once I get them roughly separated, then I'm starting to put them on the page protectors. I use just plain white cardstock in the center of the page protector, and then I'm just adding the ephemera pieces with just a little bit of ATG. I know that several people have used the page protectors, and then there's also people who put wax paper on the page protectors. This is really a personal preference. I have tried both. I think that the wax paper is great if you're putting stickers on your page protectors. Absolutely do not put stickers on page protectors. They will stick and will not come off, and you will rip the page protector and possibly ruin your sticker as well. For me, I think that the ATG on the page protector is perfectly fine. So once I got the pumpkins down, I started working on the candies. And also having these separated this way for my brain, and it may work completely different for you, but seeing all of the embellishments together sometimes helps me with layout ideas. So when I saw all of these candies, my thought process, first of all, was Halloween, obviously. And then I thought about a candy store or other candy layouts that may not necessarily be Halloween related. And I think that if I had not put them on the page protectors and seen all the candy pieces together, those ideas would have come to me. I had to pull out the odds and end packaging because honestly, I had no idea what these little things were. I think that they are gumdrops, so they're gonna go on the candy pieces. I really like having the packaging, and I do keep it. It is still in the container with the rest of the pieces because sometimes it's nice to refer back to the back of the packaging because they do have things laid out so that if I'm not sure exactly what it is, sometimes I will have ideas based on what it's sitting next to on the packaging. I definitely want to do some type of scene with these iron gates. I haven't decided what exactly yet, but this collection has a ton of them, and I'm sure that I could come up with something. I started to add some of the bigger pieces to the page protectors, so the houses and the bikes, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with some of those pieces because they're just so large. And really, I'm just adding the pieces directly to the page protectors. I have used this method for quite a while now. At first, I just started out with the color binders, and I was using that, and I absolutely pull those out from time to time. I'll look through them and pull the pieces out. But when I started using it for my collections as well, it just made a lot more sense to me. So right now we are currently in the midst of the great room reset of November 2024. So once a week you will be seeing me clean out my room. Earlier this week you saw the before of my room. So I am bringing you those videos once a week so that you can see the transformation of my room. And this was part of it. Not only putting all of these new collections that I recently purchased on the page protectors because it makes it so much easier when I am scrapbooking to look through them, but also having everything organized in my room. And I am super excited about that. So after I got the odds and ends completed, I next pulled out my chit chat. And for this particular embellishment pack, it is basically all words. There's really big title pieces, but then there's also tags and other smaller pieces, but basically everything that has words on it. So again, I started off with a rough separation of all the pieces. When I first started, I would put all of these pieces together. So all of the words and chit chats were together. But then recently I thought, you know what would be an easier way for me to find things is to put the words with the embellishment pieces. So anything that said candy or had any type of candy words on it. So like the piece that says candy haul or I love candy or trick-or-treating that had candy pieces on it, I went ahead and added it to the page protector that has the candy pieces on it. I was also looking through anything that had the pumpkins or the spiders, and I added those to the page protectors as well. For most collections, I use between 3 and 4 page protectors, and that usually depends on how spaced out I want things. Sometimes I can squeeze them in really tight and get them on 3, and sometimes I'm just lazy about it and I don't want to do the Tetris game of moving things around to make sure everything is fitting properly. And so I'll just do 4. For this particular collection, I have 6 page protectors. However, between the bits and pieces, the odds and ends, and the chit chat, there are 329 pieces of embellishments for this collection, which is kind of exciting, but also a little overwhelming. So I'm starting to add the title pieces, and you can see that I have the chit chat packaging to the right of me. And I'm using that to make sure that I have the pieces all together. So I am using the title of Ghoul Friends together. You saw me add the sweet treats to the candy one and the pumpkin patch to the page that had all the pumpkins on it. And then I am also adding pieces that are just on there randomly that I can use for multiple different things. Like I have that Halloween, and I can have Halloween party, or I can have Halloween night, and they both would work. So I kind of put them close together so that I can keep that in mind when I'm looking for titles. If I find a piece that will fit on the items that I have grouped together, I'm going to add that. So anything that says pumpkins are going on the pumpkins, anything that have to do with bats, cats, ghost, or candy are all going on the ones that have those particular embellishments. And then everything else is going on the page protector with the title. So if it could be used for multiple different things or any particular Halloween layout, it's going to go on the page protector with all the titles. And like I said, this might not be something that works for everyone, and that's okay. But over in my Facebook group, there was a question about it, and I thought, you know what, why not just go ahead and do a whole video on it? That way, if I do get questions in the future, I can refer back to the videos. I feel like sometimes having videos like this, while it may not be something that appeals to everyone, in those certain times when questions are brought up, and maybe it's a newer scrapbooker or it's somebody who is getting back into scrapbooking and they want to figure out different ways of organization, or it could be somebody who's never used Doodlebug before and realizing how many pieces of embellishments that you could possibly get with this collection. One of the things that I am truly loving about Doodlebug, and when I have the entire collection, because it can be absolutely expensive purchasing the entire collection when you get all of the different pieces and you add all of it up together. But most of the time when I have the entire collection, so that includes all of the ephemera pieces, it includes the icons, the mini icons, some of the doodle pops because I don't get all of them, also the 6x6 paper pad, and then some of the shape sprinkles because it just depends on what I think that I will use. And then obviously the paper collection as well as the petite prints. I've been getting about 10 layouts per collection. The last one that I think that I have truly gone through and created a ton of layouts on was the Easter collection. And I think I've created a playlist for that, so I will link it here if I have, so that you can see with using one Doodlebug collection how many layouts that you can truly get done. And you guys know that I am not really heavy with my embellishments. So I feel like that gives me the opportunity to stretch my embellishments across multiple layouts. And that's another reason why I like to have the ephemera packs as well as the icons and the mini icons. Because while it does repeat a lot of the items, that helps me with building my clusters. If I have all of the ephemera packs, so the chit chats, the odds and ends, and the bits and pieces, basically all of my embellishments are the same size. However, purchasing the icons and the mini icons, I may be able to use a bigger floral and then smaller florals from the icons and the mini icons on one layout, and then turn around and do something completely different where I'm using a very similar embellishment cluster, but I'm using different pieces in different sizes. So where I may use a tiny star from the mini icon, I'm now using a larger star from the ephemera packs. Hopefully that makes sense, because I felt like that was a lot of rambling for you guys. So now I have started to work on the bits and pieces. And for this particular collection, there was a ton of florals in the bits and pieces. And at first I thought I wouldn't get this particular one because of the amount of florals. But then I thought, you know what? I am sure that I can find a way to use those florals. And I kind of wanted to challenge myself since I don't tend to use a lot of florals on my layouts. This little floral wreath here that has all the candy pieces on it, I think that is super cute. So it has some of the florals. It also has little worms, but to me that simplifies like gummy worms. And then it has the gumdrops, the candy corn, what probably is Smarties, or what I think of as Smarties, and then some like candy pieces in wrappers, as well as spiders. And I just really like that embellishment piece, and I can't wait to use it. I did decide to start putting all of the smaller florals on a single page protector. This collection actually has a couple of leaves, as well as those smaller floral pieces, and then those big fun sunflowers, or I guess are daisies. Yeah, they're probably daisies. I am not very good about identifying flowers because I'm definitely not a flower girl, but I do think that they're daisies. And then on the back of the page protector is where I started to put the larger floral clusters. So this collection has 5 of those larger floral collections. It also has a floral wreath that contains the bats, ghosts, pumpkins, and spiders. And then those tag toppers, I always have the hardest time using those. I did separate them a little bit in regards to the pieces that went with the candy or the ghost, and I added those over there. There are a ton of stars in this collection. I did decide to add all of those stars to the page protector that had the smaller florals as well as the leaves on it. And then once I start to get everything down, then I start to decide, at this point, do I need to play the Tetris game of moving the pieces around to make sure that everything fits in place? And with the bats and the ghost, they were both taking up about a half of a page. And I knew that if I squeezed them in really tight, I could probably get them all on one page. And the same thing for these larger pieces here. I thought, why not go ahead and add these 5 embellishments, even though they're pretty large, down on this page protector with these other embellishments. I did have to move around the pieces quite a bit to try to get them to fit, but eventually I did get them in there. And then once I get all of the pieces on the page protectors, then I'm going to start adding them back into this container. I want to show you guys how much this container holds. It truly holds the entire Doodlebug Hey Pumpkin collection, and I feel like it sits very nicely on my shelf. I can't wait for you guys to see the final end product of my room at the end of my great room reset, so that you can see exactly what these all look like on the shelves, because I feel like it is really nice to have an entire collection all in one place and I'm not having to dig through it. And I am super excited to start working with Doodlebug Hey Pumpkin. All right, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.